Hello, welcome back everybody. We are now going to start with Unit 4, Words That Persuade. Yeah, and I'd like to look at the picture first before we continue. What does that mean, words that persuade? Okay, here we see a man, and what is he doing? Like new. Well, it shows that this man is trying to sell something. I think he's trying to persuade people to buy something from him. Words that we use can be very persuasive, and that's what we're going to look at in this unit. Yeah? There is a saying that a good salesperson can sell you what you need. A great salesperson can sell you what you don't want and can't afford. Think of a time when a salesperson persuaded you, or someone you know, to buy something. What did this person say and why was it so persuasive? See, sometimes we buy something and we come home and we go like, why did I even buy this? I don't even need this. That means that the person was very persuasive selling you something. Advertising uses language to persuade us to buy a product. For example, many ads say that a product is new or improved. Now, we're going to look at how can we be persuasive with our language. Well, maybe there is something you would want to sell, or maybe you just want to be more persuasive in your speaking or in your public speaking or in your writing. So we're going to look at what it is to be persuasive and how can we use persuasive language. Very good. We're going to start with listening 1, corporate euphemisms. Okay, read and listen to the article about how we use language. And of course, notice the bold-faced words. We always start with the vocabulary. We have euphemisms, directly, transition, connotation, deceptive, corporate, reduction, fired, and excessive. Let's listen while we read.
Watch your language. For people who love languages, fool me once. Most people like to think they're truthful, but studies show that in reality, adults often tell little white lies, small, harmless lies in social situations. For example, if a friend cooks dinner and asks, "How do you like it?" most people will say, "It's delicious," even if they think it tastes terrible. In this context, a lie is acceptable because it's used to avoid hurting someone's feelings. People also use euphemisms to avoid hurting people's feelings. Euphemisms are polite words or expressions that people use to talk about and around upsetting or embarrassing topics. For example, many people feel uncomfortable talking directly about death, so they use euphemisms. They might say pass away instead of die. Pass away is less upsetting because it suggests that death is only a transition to another place. In the business world, advertisers use euphemisms to sell products that solve embarrassing problems. For example, one company advertises mouthwash for morning breath, which has a much better connotation than the more common term bad breath. By using the positive image of a new morning instead of the negative word bad, the euphemism promotes a more positive feeling about the product. While most white lies and euphemisms have no real victims, some language can be used to hide the truth and can be quite deceptive. Take the advertising expression new and improved. We see this everywhere. It makes us think that we're paying for a better product, but the only difference is a change in the packaging. Deceptive language is also found in the corporate world. A recent news report quoted the head of a large business as saying, "The company experienced a significant reduction last year." What he really meant was, "We lost money and fired a lot of people." The statement influences our opinion of the company by hiding the true financial situation. There's an excessive amount of deceptive language in the world today. Why? Because it works. But as the expression goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. As language lovers, we can be smarter by learning to listen closely to the words we hear.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to go to the exercise of trying to understand what these words mean by circling the best definition for each word. You are going to answer questions 1 until 10. You can pause your video to do so. Go ahead. Very good. That brings us to preview. A businessman gives an online lecture about euphemisms used in the corporate world. So euphemisms are really just a nicer way of saying something that might be shameful or embarrassing. Listen to an excerpt from the lecture. What do you think is the purpose of this lecture? Can you circle the prediction? What do you think this lecture is about? Listen first and then answer.
Euphemism. A friend of mine got a letter from his employer that said the company was having a workforce reduction because of changes in the market environment. What they really mean is that a bunch of people are going to be fired because the company is in financial trouble. So why didn't they say that directly?
Exactly. So what do you think the purpose is of this lecture? A, B, or C? Okay, now, we always have our steps with reading, but we have them also with listening. So we do our previewing, in which we predict what the audio will be about. We pay notice to the topic and the purpose and predict what type of listening section it is. Is it a monologue? Is it a dialogue? Is it what type of monologue, what type of dialogue is it going to be? And from there, we try to understand what our focus is and what we are going to listen for. And then when we listen, we take notes. Okay, now listen to the whole lecture. Look again at your prediction from the preview section. And how did the prediction help you understand the lecture? It gave you a focus on what to listen for. So remember, topic, purpose, and then know what type of listening section it is. In this case, it's a lecture. I'm going to turn it on and you are going to answer questions 1 until 5 while listening.
The corporate world loves euphemism. A friend of mine got a letter from his employer that said the company was having a workforce reduction because of changes in the market environment. What they really mean is that a bunch of people are going to be fired because the company is in financial trouble. So why didn't they say that directly? Well, it was an attempt to put a happy face on a bad situation. Instead of talking about people getting fired from their jobs, the company used a euphemism to make it sound better. Workforce reduction. We love to rename things to make them sound better. Who wants to be a garbage collector? Garbage has a negative connotation. Dirty, smelly garbage. So now we don't have garbage collectors anymore. No, instead we have sanitation workers. Sanitation is the removal of dirt to protect public health. That's a much better connotation, focusing on cleanliness rather than dirt. Sometimes we make ourselves look better with euphemisms. Unemployed? Out of a job? That doesn't sound good in a job interview. But don't worry, you can say you are between jobs, implying that it's only a temporary period of unemployment. Or, better yet, that you are going through a career transition. That sounds like you made a choice to be unemployed and find a better career. But in other contexts, our euphemisms change. With friends, you might say something else. Have you heard the term funemployed? That's how my friend explains his current situation. He's out of a job, but now has the time to do fun things during the work week. Fun employed. Sounds great, right? And we're always inventing new euphemisms. Why? Well, most have a short shelf life. They become less effective over time. Euphemisms are created to make an idea sound more positive, but over time, they can take on a negative connotation, just like the original word. The term downsizing is an example. In the 1980s, when we first heard the term downsizing, it was a new way to describe a company that was firing people, a company coming down in size. However, over the years, it's become just as bad. Just like saying, we're firing people. The connotation is the same now. So it's been replaced too, with new euphemisms, like workforce reduction. If I could give the corporate world one piece of advice, I'd tell them, don't overdo it with euphemisms, because with excessive use, euphemism slides into doublespeak. Doublespeak is language that goes beyond making something sound better. Doublespeak is deceptive language used to hide the truth. There's a well-known example, you can find it on the internet, of a corporate letter that uses 29 different euphemisms for firing people. 29 in one page. That's too much. People get angry at this kind of doublespeak. They want to be told the truth, not hear euphemisms that hide the truth. So listen to the euphemisms around you and learn to use them wisely. Thank you.
Okay, and then we continue with the questions on this page. If you need to listen to the audio one more time, you can do that. So it's questions 1 until 5. You can pause your video to answer this. So good. Okay, that brings us to the details. Listen again, fill in the missing information. Basically, that is the same audio we heard just now. So you can listen to it again. And just remind you to listen to it again. And then answer or fill in the gaps, the missing information of number 1 until 8. So before you do that, remember to look at the keywords in every sentence first. Annotate it, underline, circle, highlight the keywords, and then listen to it again and then answer straight away. You will recognize where the answer is because you're focusing on the keywords. Until number 8. Very good. That brings us to making inferences. Inferring a speaker's purpose. What is the purpose of the speaker? A speaker may have a specific purpose for making a statement. For example, the speaker may want to find a new term, contrast two ideas, or persuade the listener to agree with an idea. The listener can infer the speaker's purpose by paying attention to the context. It is important to be able to identify the purpose of each statement so that you can understand the speaker's overall intended meaning. You need to know the general meaning. Okay, so what is the speaker's purpose when he makes the statement in bold? Let's listen.
A friend of mine got a letter from his employer that said the company was having a workforce reduction because of changes in the market environment. What they really mean is that a bunch of people are going to be fired because the company is in financial trouble.
Exactly. So the purpose of the statement is to define the terms workforce reduction and changes in the market environment. So the speaker says the new term slowly, carefully, and then he explains what it means. Okay, so we're going to listen to excerpts, and I want you to figure out what the speaker's purpose is. You're going to read each statement and circle the correct answer. We have excerpts 1, 2, and 3. Let's start with 1. But before we do that again, please annotate it. Underline circle highlights the key words in the question and also in the answer choices. Otherwise, it's too hard for you to recognize the answer, okay?
Have you heard the term funemployed? That's how my friend explains his current situation. He's out of a job, but now has the time to do fun things during the work week.
Please answer. Is it A, B, or C? We're going to go to excerpt 2. Annotating for keywords also helps you to see the purpose, yeah? It makes it easier to follow the audio. Excerpt 2.
In the 1980s, when we first heard the term downsizing, it was a new way to describe a company that was firing people, a company coming down in size. However, over the years, it's become just as bad, just like saying, we're firing people. The connotation is the same now.
And now, excerpt 3.
There's a well-known example, you can find it on the internet, of a corporate letter that uses 29 different euphemisms for firing people. 29 in one page. That's too much. People get angry at this kind of doublespeak. They want to be told the truth, not hear euphemisms that hide the truth.
So in a way, euphemisms can be helpful if you're in a situation where you don't want to embarrass yourself or other people. Euphemisms are a good way to be polite, to be nice, and yeah, especially to be polite. I think it's very good. But in some cases, people wouldn't like it when we use euphemisms because they would want to hear the truth, a more straightforward truth. So we need to know when we should use euphemisms and when not. Okay, what about the expressions using your PEEL, P-E-E-L, point, explanation, evidence and linking back, or RL, assertion, reasoning, evidence and linking back to state your opinion. Number 1, when is it okay to use euphemisms or deceptive language in a corporate context? And when is it not okay? And what about euphemisms or deceptive language in personal relationships? What do you think? Number 2, are corporate euphemisms used in your native language? How are the expressions similar to or different from the euphemisms mentioned in the lecture? And the last one, number 3, when do you use euphemisms? And what are some examples? And why do you use them? Please answer these questions. Use PEEL or RL. Very important. And then when we meet each other in class, that you can express your opinion, but with structure. Remember, structurized thinking, structurized speaking. Very good. Awesome. Yeah, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. We started with our vocabulary, and from our vocabulary we went to go over the preview. We previewed the material, the audio, to really figure out, get the focus of what we were going to talk about. Predicting the purpose, knowing the topic, knowing the purpose, and predicting what it was going to be about. And then we listened for main ideas, understanding those, and listening for details, which are more specific. The main points are a bit broader and are developed by the usage of details. And then we went into making inferences, inferring a speaker's purpose, why people say certain things, and expressing our opinion by using a structure, in this case PEEL or RL. Very good. Awesome. Thank you very much for today. You are amazing. I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.